Hello users, and welcome to another episodic installation of Above It All, the series in where I lost my hairbrush, and so my hair just looks like fucking this, right? Like, Jesus. Anyway, so I've got an important video for you. Marianne Williamson, the Orb Queen, in fact, has put a very good endorsement out there, and I have yet to watch this entire video, so maybe she says something profound I can fucking go on about, but it's about 3 minutes here, and she's endorsing Shahid Buttar for Congress, and that's absolutely amazing. I do think that that's probably one of, if not the most important down ballot race going on in the country, just because it's a huge signifier. Now, it's a very, very, very big long shot, but I do think it's achievable, especially with Nancy Pelosi's horrendous, absolutely terrifying, disastrous leadership, throughout this crisis. So, let's see what Marianne has to say.
Hi. I want to talk to you about a congressional endorsement that I think is very important. I have long had great admiration for Nancy Pelosi because she's the first woman Speaker of the House, and I believe that her achievements have paved the way in really profound ways for women such as myself. At the same time, I am a lifelong Democrat who has become very, very concerned with the corporatist direction of the party in too many cases. And I admit my own experience in the presidential campaign showed me how the control of certain forces at the expense of progressive voices is a direction that is taking Democratic Party away from the principles on which I was always raised to believe it stands. And so in this election, I feel that we need to do everything possible to make a strong stand for those of us who have been Democrats, for those of us who are Democrats. We need to take a strong stand for the progressive vision that many of us feel is absolutely essential, not only for the future of our country, but also for this next election. And as a consequence, I am now endorsing Shahid Buttar for the congressional seat in the San Francisco district where Nancy Pelosi now serves. We have to get right to the heart of things. And the Nancy Pelosi's of this world, and I say this with all due respect for Nancy Pelosi, have got to hear us that we are serious, have got to understand that, yes, we on the left will challenge you. We on the left that, God, Nancy, this was what we always thought you were. This is what I always thought the Democratic Party was supposed to be. We've heard long enough how, yes, you understand. No. This last HEROES Act, that did it for me. Should be $2,000 a month until this is done. We need Medicare for all. We need a show of compassion for the American people. That is simply not the agenda these days for the corporate-backed Democratic Party. And if that doesn't change, I think we're going to have a hard time this year. And America's even going to have a harder time in the future. So I hope you'll check out Shahid Buttar, because I think he's worthy of our support. He's a perfect challenger for Nancy. I think this is good for Nancy. It's definitely taking a stand for something. You can go to shahidbuttar.com. That's SHAHIDBUTTAR. I support him wholeheartedly because I think there's a message there that's an important one. And I hope that you will join me. Progressives can't just be sidelined all the time or pander to, suppressed. It's got to stop. Let's stop it now. ShahidButtar.com. Thanks.
Great endorsement. I do have to say, I love her historical analysis of the Democratic Party as someone who I don't even know how old she is because I'm honestly not that interested in her as a person, but I did find the memes of her presidential campaign to be pretty interesting, and also she has a decently large platform that I can maybe ride the coattails off if I make this video. But the historical vision that she gives of people's idea of the Democratic Party that they've been taught and that they've been manufactured into thinking, how that is, desynchronizing with what they're actually doing. Like, people, especially in her generation, were always like kind of taught, oh, like the LBJs, like the FDRs, like those are the, the people that, the Democrats should aspire to be. And then, like, really after Jimmy Carter, who, obviously is problematic, but he seems like a relatively decent person. He was like basically the last figurehead of the Democratic Party that actually at least had any sort of semblance of that notion. And that, like, the Bill Clinton wing, the triangulation, like, new Democrat third way kind of wing of the party, basically co-opted that language while doing backdoor deals with corporations and banks and stuff, and to try to create this very bizarre hybrid brand that's like, oh, we're pro-worker, but also fuck the workers at the same time. And they've been straddling that line ever since the Bill Clinton wing of the party kind of took over. And Barack Obama exemplified that to perfection. He was like, oh, I'm black, I'm cool, I'm progressive, I like healthcare, vote for me. And then, like, as soon as he gets in office, people, like, spend their heart and soul trying to get him elected, similarly to how we did with Bernard. And then as soon as he gets into office, drone strikes. Day 3, like, no health care for all. The ACA, which still left people underinsured and uninsured. In my specific instance, I lost my mother even during the Obamacare era. Like, oops, fell through the cracks. Now the rest of my life is, parentless. Sorry. Oh, thanks a lot, Barack Obama. So it's like one of those things where it's like, if Democrats are going to stand for something, either you stand all the way or you don't stand at all. Now, if you want to go out there and say that your message is incremental change, then by all means, fight for incremental change. And that's kind of where we are now, is we're in the part where, like, the Nancy Pelosi's and the Joe Bidens are still trying to straddle that line of pretending like they're progressive while also just simply advocating for incrementalism. And they've gotten to the point where we now do have a very actually enraged and upset and, like, very militant progressive wing, not necessarily of the Democratic Party, but of the United States electorate. And that's only going to grow further and further. And this is the kind of thing, this is what I believe, is that we need to create these outside groups and do direct action. Like in the 1920s and 30s, there is a huge increase in Communist Party people and anarchist groups that created coalitions that basically said, we will completely overthrow this government if you don't give us something. And that's what pressured FDR and those kind of Democrats to do the New Deal. And obviously the New Deal that we got, was a racist New Deal. It was a New Deal at the expense of Japanese Americans. It was a New Deal at the expense of minority populations. Obviously Japanese internment was a thing, but other minorities in the country were kind of left out of the New Deal. That was to basically, make sure that the Southern Democrats, which were still a very racist part of the party, were, in line. It's like, all right, we'll do all this stuff, but only for white people. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have the Civil Rights Act yet, and that was a huge deal. And so, like, like that, and that's basically the best we got. It's like a racist-ass New Deal that was, like, for white people only. And then, even then, that kind of fell short. Like, ever since then, the business wing has been trying to basically undo that progress ever since, and we've basically gotten to the point where the New Deal has been completely reversed. You know what I mean? And so, Marianne taking a stand, at least, using her public platform. She's got like 3 million Twitter followers, like, she's got, like, and she's also got this kind of, like, wine mom kind of aesthetic to her. Not necessarily saying that to be offensive, but, like, I can see wine moms really liking her. She's hippie, she's new age, she's like a fucking boomer hippie, And so, like, she has this kind of motif in the shtick that can really, I think it can move the needle, maybe a little bit. And so, like, we need these kinds of people that are just openly saying, no, Nancy Pelosi is horrible. Not, she's not good. Not, we can do better. She is horrible. She is literally horrible. And that is something more people need to understand and get through their heads, is that she is not, again, I'm reiterating this, she is not, she's progressive, but she could be more progressive. We agree on certain things and disagree on other things. We can have a debate about that. No, she is horrible. She's a Republican, essentially a fucking 2006 Republican, right? But just painted blue. Like, it's at the point where, again, when you factor in that she's a leader and not like just some random person in the Democratic Party, she is more further to the right than Joe Manchin on a lot of things. And it's one of those things where it's, again, we need to get rid of her if we want to have any sort of semblance of Democratic Party leadership that's not completely bought out and paid for. And the same goes for Chuck Schumer in the Senate. And so, again, all these high profile people coming out against her, that can only help us. And shout outs to the Orb Gang. Marianne Williamson for the longest time was my number 2. Obviously, the number 2 didn't really matter because Bernie was always number 1. If Bernie wasn't your number 1 throughout the 2020 primary, I hope you've gotten therapy since then because you were a fucking moron and you're a very destructive lunatic. Shout outs to the Yang Gang, by the way. Go fuck yourselves. Anyway, so, yeah, basically that sums up my opinion on this. Let me know what you think. And again, Shahid Buttar, super important. Donate to him if you can. Because, if he could unseat Nancy Pelosi, as far as electoralism goes, that's probably my largest hope, is that he could potentially unseat Nancy Pelosi. Who knows? Honestly, who knows? It's one of those things where it probably won't happen. But, I mean, if it is, something where it's 46, to 50 for Nancy winning, that's at least she does not have a mandate. It's oh my god, she almost got voted out of her own fucking seat for being such a terrible leader. You know what I mean? That could also move the needle. So we'll see. This is going to be a very important race. And I think, again, this is going to be the thing where if every Bernie person just translated all of their time and energy to the Shahid Buttar campaign, honestly, I think we'd have a great time. We could probably win. But it's one of those things where a lot of people are being demoralized and just talking about how much they hate Joe Biden on Twitter all day and they're not doing anything. And that arm of the progressive base really needs to be expanded upon and actually needs to be doing something useful. I'm not one to criticize others without criticizing myself. I would love to do more, but I'm not, because I'm a fucking stoner freak and I just sit at home and play video games and make YouTube videos. But I am not without criticism. But anyway, hopefully Marianne Williamson and I can be, starting some sort of gang of people that make YouTube videos without brushing her hair. Obviously, she has not done so either. And I don't know where my hairbrush went. All of a sudden, it was on my desk one day. Now it's gone. I'm not sure what the hell happened. Also, while you're here, when you donate to Shahid Buttar's campaign, donate to my Patreon as well. Do a split donation. Give me $10, give him $10. Give me, $69, give him $69. Do something like that. Very, very valuable, very important. I'm trying to be a revolutionary voice on the YouTube space, and if I can manipulate a bunch of people that are like-minded into simping for me and giving me money, I'm gonna do it. So, do that, give me the money, and then also give the rest of your money to Shahid Buttar, because it's super important. But, yeah, super awesome. And, this video's over. Turn it off! Why are you still listening? What else am I gonna say? I got hair in my face. God damn it.